Hey guys, welcome back to Pillbox Movies. I'm Hank, and today we're going to be watching the 2023 French fairy tale horror, fantasy horror, The Vourdalak. This movie features vampire puppets. Is there really anything else I need to say about it? It's what first captured my attention about this movie. It is exactly almost the sole reason I am watching it. Vampire puppet? What else do you need? That conceit basically made for getting Sarah Marshall, and I'm excited to see how it's implemented here. So yeah, without further ado, let's watch The Vourdalak. And before we get started, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe for more old, obscure, and art house films.
Ouvrez-moi, pour l'amour du ciel. J'ai été attaqué par des brigands.
Des Turcs.
Don't open up the door at the middle of the night. I love seeing his hat in the silhouette.
Vous rencontrerez la demeure du vieux Gorcha.
It's so French, it's so like European, but I love the idea of beginning a movie with like entering into the forest. It's grim. Or in the case of the French, it's Pirot. Or Aleksei Tolsoy. Hey, it's oh, I forgot her name. It begins with an A. Ariadne, Labed. It's the Greek guy. Poor things. Yorgos Lanthimos. It's his wife. And it's the dog from Anatomy of a Fall.
Madame, je suis le Marquis Jacques Antoine Saturnin d'Urpé, envoyé diplomatique du roi de France. Pardon. Monsieur, on m'a dit qu'il pourrait...
So is he in Russia right now? Was that something moving in the background? Okay, so maybe folding in... I mean, I don't know Tolstoy's original source material, but folding in a narrative of the Vourdalaks or a vampiric essence with like kind of like social concerns, war, class disparity, something of that nature.
Il veut voir le vieux.
And I think this man went hunting as a woman purposely so that he wouldn't get targeted, maybe in the wrong way, but so that he wouldn't get targeted by bandits on the roads. Like they wouldn't think that he was somebody to, like a man to like take money from. I love this interplay of customs. The like Western with like, I mean, it's a little bit Orientalism, but the kind of like foreignness, the mysticism of this culture. Hey, it's that actor. He's the soldier in Beau Travail. I saw him in something recently. Where did I see him in? Oh, Both Sides of the Blade.
Je suis Igor, son fils aîné. Nous avons égorgé une dizaine d'entre eux. Hélas, leur chef, l'infâme Alibek, nous a échappé.
L'infâme Alibek.
C'est intéressant, il s'avère que j'appartiens moi aussi à une famille qui s'illustra pour ses hauts faits d'armes. Oh.
so far back. I love the contrast of like the Western and the Eastern or Oriental culture.
Je vais aller saluer mon père maintenant et m'assurer qu'il peut vous recevoir.
That he's also from a supposed nation of conflict, but the conflicts are so like distant in their past or separated from their experience as like the bourgeois.
Où est-il? Il a décroché sa vieille arquebuse et il est parti.
À son âge, dans son état, qu'a-t-il dit?
Je pars. Si au terme de ces 6 jours je ne suis pas revenu, dites une prière à ma mémoire. Mais si jamais je revenais après ces 6 jours révolus, et de ne point me laisser entrer, quoi que je puisse dire ou faire,
Labed's
car alors,
dancing background coming into play again, or movement background, I guess. If you want to see a beautiful, beautiful physical, emotional performance from her, you should see Alps. Lanthimos is like second or third feature.
Vous avez tous perdu la raison.
Cela fera exactement 6 jours ce soir, à 6 heures. Eh bien,
Yeah, yeah.
merci beaucoup pour le bouillon.
A really nice little detail, I think, just to delineate their cultures, is there's like an illusion. Igor's family's heads are covered, and the Marquis de I don't remember his name at all. Marquis Jacques Antoine Saturnin Diouf. Jacques is showing his head, but actually he's wearing a wig, so he's also covering his head, but almost like in the exact opposite manner in which Igor's family is. He's doing it as like a vanity, as a display. He's adding to his hair, and they are covering up their hair in like deference or in suppliance to God. I mean, it makes sense, like, I guess historically, to have these costuming details, but it really points to kind of like attitudinal differences or cultural differences.
La cloche. Il est 6 heures.
Je suis l'aîné, et vous me devez obéissance.
Mon Dieu, père!
Attendez,
What is that?
depuis quand est-il là?
Let us see what that
Je suis
is.
sûr que ça fait des jours qu'il est là.
Ne fais pas ça, Igor.
Let's see what this is. Oh, cool. It is a fucking
Père, vous m'entendez?
puppet. Too bad familial ties allow monsters into the household. It's like a metaphor or something.
Qu'on le fasse taire. Non. Piotr, obéis.
Obeisance. Okay, so maybe observing a culture of obedience. We'll observe what obedience means in family structures and when that obedience is preyed upon. Well, this is going on the website. That's a cool ass puppet. Looks like Willem Dafoe.
Vous l'accrocherez au-dessus de la porte, et que c'est de la main de Gorcha qu'il a péri.
A little Hereditary spot. I know Hereditary didn't invent that, but a recent example. I like the light play of this. You know, it's kind of like Lights Out, but this is the second instance in which we've seen kind of like flashing used as a distinguishing horror set piece. And of course, silhouettes, shadows are eminently present in the vampire genre from its inception. I mean, they've said it themselves. They're not exactly a hospitality kind of family.
J'ai fait cette nuit un rêve terrible. Dans la chambre de Vlad. C'était son petit lit. Mais Vlad n'était pas dedans. Et l'air s'est alors empli d'une puanteur.
Les choses du tombeau se doivent d'y rester. Notre père n'est plus notre père.
Un Vourdalak ne s'attaque pas à n'importe qui, monsieur. Il se délecte particulièrement du sang de ses parents proches.
That's what family is like.
L'amour même est une malédiction par chez nous.
Yeah, undoing the family itself through the structures of a familial curse, or I don't know, patriarchy or some shit like that. But being beholden to a generation that is vampiric, that is parasitic.
Ce sont des sangsues sournoises et malfaisantes, monsieur, que rien ne peut tuer.
He's really speaking to the French youths with this movie. it's also, you know, there's like also metaphors of like abuse of children and stuff, being unable to force like abusive elders in a household out of that household, but instead kind of like managing the sickness or the trauma of the youth, the ones who are affected.
J'ai cherché partout, aucune trace de lui.
And everybody knows about it except for the except for Igor.
Au cas où il rentrerait cette nuit. Qu'avez-vous fait, mon fils?
Je sais très bien ce qu'il se passe. Le vieux lui-même nous avait prévenus.
Ils sont en train de perdre la raison, avec ces sornettes de bonnes femmes. Vous devez nous prendre pour des brutes, mon père et moi. Et sachez que si cette famille est encore en vie, c'est grâce à nous. Et certainement pas grâce à leur gris-gris et leurs chansons.
Yeah, again, this is bringing up an interesting question of like patriarchy, kind of like masculine and feminine divides, like what actually maintains and sustains a family. He has a very kind of binaristic view that because he's the provider, because he's the defender, that is what is holding up and maintaining this family. And I do understand that perspective, that the family wouldn't exist without that, but it wouldn't exist without the feminine perspective too, the perspective of knowledge, in a way, of wisdom, of ritual and care, and like knowing where danger comes from and how to address those dangers in a way that isn't adversarial. They know what the Vourdalak is, they know how to defend against it, and specifically how to like train their children or their offspring against it. And while Igor and the men carry a similar tradition of defense, they carry it from an individualistic point of view, where they have to bear the burdens of the family, of the household on their own. And it makes them very brave, it makes them very worthy, but it also means that they aren't as capable of imparting wisdom onto their children or onto their families. Because again, they don't have a dialogue, they have a hierarchy of obedience. Anything can happen in the woods.
Petit.
I like his nightcap.
C'est pour protéger ma famille que Monseigneur reste parmi nous. Monseigneur est trop bon.
J'éprouve, il est vrai pour Sdenkain.
Je le sais bien. Monseigneur est admirable.
The Marquis is in this like nice little sweet spot where he's like just left of like, or just right of Mickey Mouse, where he's not a total naive.
Je finirai sans doute par l'aimer.
There's an aspect of him who's duplicitous or like self-serving, but it's just this it's mostly naive in a way that like is likable. It's such a surprisingly wide movie. I don't know if I like it per se, but they've elected to shoot things at a very wide kind of distance, or a very long distance, longer than you'd expect. In some ways, it reminds me of there's this French film called The Annunciation of Mary. It's a very kind of like stilted, presentational, fairy tale-ish aspect to it. I guess also like Percival Gawa, something like that. It's a lovely image. It's a horrible image to have to put a stake through a child, obviously, but it'd be a lovely image for this dead body to spill blood. Obviously, it doesn't have a heart. It shouldn't be coursing with blood anymore, but that'd be a cool image. Kind of symbolic of the life force that is stolen out of these children. Of course, he takes the aspect of a holy man. And they're just absolutely helpless. As they are obliged to the father, the father is obliged to his father.
Tombez bien, monsieur. Puisque vous êtes le chef de cette famille. Bélissez cette tombe sur le champ. Je vous l'ordonne.
L'ordonne.
Tu me l'ordonnes?
Puis l'autre, comment oses-tu?
I love the little like leather or something that just gives a little bit of pliability around the jaw. It looks so good on the puppet. That's their business. Yeah, again, touching on the perhaps ideas of like abuse, there is an aspect of this that has perhaps taken on a more sexual tone. The idea that this patriarch may be abusing his own daughter, that this vampirism, this parasitism ties into all these kind of like social taboos, these societal negatives about the danger within the dangers of about family and the dangers that are possible within it.
Dansons.
Danseuse?
Faites donc danser ma fille. Vous en mourrez d'envie. Dansez, vous dis-je. Voilà.
Où est le pieu?
C'est bien tranquille.
I kind of understand this aspect of why the stranger is needed, of why the Marquis.
I know, it's pronounced
Marquis de Durfay is needed because none of the family can kill their grandfather. Family ties and all that. But I also do wonder, like, maybe within the original story and in this movie, what his like purposes as a stranger, how he compares and contrasts or like shines a light on aspects of this family and this culture, or if that's reflecting back on some aspect of his culture. I think my takeaway right now is that this movie, while ostensibly being about these Serbians and about restrictions within their culture, is actually being reflected back on him, that there's actually these aspects to French culture, and I don't know if the movie's necessarily saying that explicitly, but that's something that perhaps a French director, Beau, would be expressing or grappling with within the text and expressing through the movie.
Doivent être un ravissement pour les jeunes femmes de la cour de France. Regarde.
I love the light play.
Comme tu as fière allure.
The use of the candles to, again, give that sense of flickering makes it look almost like a silent film. Not that silent films are shot that way, but they are projected that way. Don't kill your own brother. Please don't kill your own brother. He got shot. Yeah.
Si un père n'est pas tout pour ses enfants, il n'est rien.
Good. Oh, I thought Igor was gonna do it. That sucks, but I thought that Igor was gonna do it. Ariane seems to find herself in these situations. Don't know why. Oh, I love the idea of blaming the stranger. That maps on so well into like a cultural argument for this film, or a cultural lens of this film. So, like, metaphorically, if you were to take like conservative America, for example, conservative France as an example was probably even more relevant, but the family structure is self-destructing in this instance, and it's clearly actually being generating from an issue with the patriarch, the long-standing, undying, unbendable patriarch, who is sowing chaos in the family structure, but the family, especially in the case of Igor, can't really cast blame amongst itself. It's too neurotic to assign blame of the issues to something within the family structure itself, and so it lashes out at an outsider, a stranger. It looks for somebody to blame, and you can map this up pretty easily onto conservative politics, thinking that, you know, immigrants are destabilizing America, Muslims, North Africans are ruining French culture. It's bullshit. I think this is a little bit of a different example, obviously, with a French courtier, but the dynamics are the same regardless of who is the object of this spite. They need to redirect their anxiety towards someone else, because the family, the system itself, is so constricted, it's so restrained, it cannot abide any sort of change or any sort of disruption, and so all that negative energy has to be focused on some outside force.
C'est vous, étranger, qui avez porté le malheur sur notre famille.
Yeah, he brought all of this with his pale ass.
Anya! Fuyez, Anya! Ce n'est pas votre fils! Diego!
I love that this poison, this curse is passing patrilineally, that all the vampires or all the people who become like servants or aid the vampires are down the male line of the family. You gotta love a child vampire. It's just so necessary to the genre. It's the absolute greatest perversion of all that is sacred. But what if you had a dog vampire?
J'ai tressé l'aubépine.
It's rosemary.
Le cercle se referme. Vole vite. Le voyage est fini. Cela vaudra mieux pour tout le monde.
Ne faites rien, nous partirons ensemble. Je vous emmènerai à la cour.
La cour.
I'll never see the court. We'll never see Moscow.
Means we won't live.
Oh, damn. What does that look like? Is that something from, is that in, that's, it looks like, Cribmaster, right? Cribmaster Cycle? Is she gonna get wed to her father? Weirdo fucking vampire narratives. And I love that it's playing with their silhouettes, their shadows right now. I wish this movie would have a more sex-positive ending. I hate that him being kind of lured by his sex, by lust, is probably going to lead to his death. Because I think, I don't know. In this kind of narrative, I think, like, sex is, like, it's, like, generative. I don't know. It'd be nice if it was, like, something that actually fought against the power of the vampires. And then I love the depravity of the vampire, like, you know, mocking his own child for their feminine presentation, and then doing this ploy under the guise of being Zdenka to have sex and then feast on the blood of Jacques. It's like such a hypocrisy. It's so representative of this type, this patriarch. Like, do as I say, not as I do. So many families at the dining table, kind of endings to these movies recently. I'm thinking of Pearl, Thanksgiving.
Si seulement je t'avais rencontré plus tôt, combien ma vie aurait pu être différente.
He's speaking the words of Zdenka. I think the ending kind of like brings into question whether or not this is a dream or hallucination on the part of the Marquis. I think that may undermine some of the points I've made about the film, and so I wonder if they actually follow through on that. So he's been bitten too now, and he's going to carry this disease to France. I think that's the ultimate message of this. Yeah, I do think this is like, in my interpretation at least, this is like speaking to France's grappling with its own kind of like national identity through the lens of this curse. It doesn't matter where this curse originated. It doesn't matter who is responsible for this curse. This curse has found itself now in France.
Si vous avez la moindre amitié pour moi, ne quittez pas ce monde avant de l'avoir connu. Allez montrer à ces gens ce qu'est la beauté, ce qu'est la noblesse. Excusez-moi.
You need a stake. I don't think you could just throw yourself off. Not good. God damn it. God damn it. Yeah, I thought everything had perhaps been saved at the end, but no, the curse continues. And the curse passes from the family to strange land. Yeah, so it's passed on to Versailles now. That was fun. Yeah, I think in some ways I can understand perhaps a resistance or like not loving this movie. I certainly appreciate that. I think it toes a line of fantasy horror that I don't know. I think it's a really rewarding genre, but it can be a challenging or sometimes alienating genre, and it's just like hard to pick a sweet spot. Find something that really suits your tastes and your needs within that kind of like subgenre. As like a parable for French culture or for conservative culture, the kind of like rule of the family, the rule of the father. I think it was like a really expressive story. It kind of like held those symbols kind of like very deeply and expressively. I think the movie for like a general audience may have a lack of like relatable or likable characters, but in that vein I do think like it is like reminiscent of like early Lanthimos, for example, where all of the characters are kind of like alien and alienating, and it's not really about necessarily relating to characters so much as relating to the structures that they're existing within, the interplay they have with each other. Yeah, and I mean, I think that kind of like alienation is similarly expressed through the puppet as well. Obviously, the puppet is not of the real world. You can't really identify with it in a natural way, but because it is unnatural, it is seemingly more expressive in that way. And I can also understand this not like meeting the quota of like being surreal enough. I don't really think this is like a surreal piece, though. I think it's in the same vein as Renoir's Les Chiens, for example, which starts with a puppet play, which starts with a Punch and Judy, and we're supposed to kind of like interpret the movie from that parable or that story tale kind of vantage point, that fairy tale vantage point. And I think this is similar, where characters are defined enough, but also kind of like structurally, intentionally archetypal. I could see this. I could see people, if this were like more widely watched, I could see people calling it like the French The Witch, and I'm sure like people would prefer The Witch to this. I probably prefer The Witch to this, but it's not really like a grading system for me. It's not really about like movies being better or worse so much as like what's trying to be expressed. And I like the expression of this movie. I don't know. I'm probably lying about that. I compare movies all the time, obviously, but I read onto this more like commentary or more kind of like reflection on like social or national issues than I did for The Witch upon first watch, which I think The Witch is more psychological as well as being a parable, and this is more archetypal and like kind of like flatly parabolistic. Parabolistic, is that a word? Parabolic. Yeah, that was the Vourdalak. I enjoyed it. The Orientalism, yeah, what are you gonna do? I don't love that aspect, but I'm actually interested to watch the other adaptations of this story, especially the Bava one. That sounds. I was trying to make inroads with Bava previously, anyway, so that seems like a good next movie to watch, a next step to take. So yeah, let's watch Black Sabbath. In the meantime, let me know what you think of the Vourdalak. Comment down below if you have any other French horror recommendations. Company of Wolves, maybe? And in the meantime, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe for more old, obscure, and art house films. And until next time, keep watching good movies.